Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This is Rob Shmuel Ben Yehoshua, Rabbi Stephen, coming to you with this week's Devar Torah from San Clemente. Hope you're doing well. I don't know, what do you think? Glasses? No glasses? Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thank you for everybody that's been participating in our Saturday morning services. We had our sort of an emotional service last week. There were people that were remembering loved ones and things like that. And, people get very emotional. I also had the honor, and to me, this is an honor, of officiating at a funeral for someone that we've known for over 20 years. The family was there. We did a few nights of services afterwards, allowed them to say their mourner's Kaddish. And it was very emotional there, too. This is what Judaism is. One of the tenets, one of the basic foundations of Judaism is that when God created us in his, or her if you prefer, image, then we are like God. And if we feel these emotions, then God has programmed us. Think of it that way. God has created us to have these feelings. But the nice thing about Judaism is that there are ways, right? There are paths, methods, venues to express these things. We just got done in our Miller course talking about love Jewish style. And whereas there are other religions that may see it as being evil, as, the temptations, you have to avoid it, you have to be perfect. Judaism doesn't believe, we don't believe that. God created us imperfect after his image so that we'd have something to do between birth and death. And for me as a rabbi and generally a spiritual person, people ask, what's the meaning of life? I personally believe it's to grow. One of the basic tenets is to grow, to be better, to end life better than when you entered it. And there are other very important things too, like love your neighbor as yourself, respect people, honor the stranger. Okay? So when you have the lusts that go along with love, all right? In Judaism, we recognize that and say there are appropriate channels, appropriate ways to deal with those lusts or temptations, whatever you want to say. And they're not evil. They're there for a reason. They're there so that we will procreate. Lador Vardor, generation to generation. Be fruitful and multiply. One of the first commandments mentioned in the Torah. See? So when people feel these things, when they have situations and they react, very important, very appropriate that people are able to express themselves, happiness, grief, joy, whatever the feeling is, and just allow that to happen. And that's why we have yortzites, and that's why, the anniversary of a person's death, we recognize that. We call people up to the Torah for an aliyah when that happens, so that they can express it. We do El Malei Rachamim, God full of mercy, which we chant when somebody is remembering that. So it happens. We had just kind of a few people that wanted to express it, and I tell them it's okay. It's okay. And it is. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Reah, one of our portions in Devarim, Deuteronomy. I believe it's it's the fourth Parsha from the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, or in Espanol, and I hope I get this right, Deuteromonio. Okay. And so last week, my bar mitzvah portion, Ekev, we read part of the Parsha was the second paragraph of the Shema. Now, the first paragraph of the Shema, everybody knows the V'ahavta. A lot of synagogues will do the Shema, the V'ahavta, and then let you, daven or pray. Daven's the Yiddish word, pray on your own. The next two paragraphs. I kind of like to do it out loud. That's my practice because I believe that the other two paragraphs are just as important as the V'ahavta. And the third paragraph is the one with putting the tzitzit on your clothes so that, when you look at them, you remember all of God's commandments and remember to do it. Now, the second portion, the second paragraph, parafalo, I'm getting into my Spanish here, of the V'ahavta almost seems like they're repeating the commandments, when you rise up and when you lie down, teach them to your children, put them on, the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. It almost seems like the same thing with one big difference. The commandments in the second paragraph are in the plural, whereas the V'ahavta is in the singular. Okay? So, what this is telling us, in my mind, is that we fulfill the commandments on an individual level, and we also fulfill them as a group. We are responsible for ourselves, and we're also responsible for each other. Okay? So, let's talk about Re'eh as we're going forward. As we've moved from performing the commandments individually, and then performing them as a group, as a collective, as a community, we now have things that we look at as a community. In Re'eh, we have some commandments that come up, as we've explained, as Moses explains to this new generation that's going to conquer and settle the land. They're going to be setting up a society, so they need to be all together in this. So some of the things we talk about, and in our triennial portion, we talk about the remittance of debt. God says, look, if your fellow is in dire straits, is destitute, you need to help them out. And you help them out by giving them an interest-free loan. Here's some money, go, whatever you need to do. Give it to me, when you're able. And if the seventh year, the year of Shemitah, I always get it confused. There's Shechita and Shemitah. Shemitah is the seventh year. Shechita is the ritual slaughter. We don't want to confuse the two, do we? But in that year, all debts are forgiven. And you're thinking, wow, if somebody comes up to me in the sixth year, and it's not 7 years from the loan, it's the seventh year. It's programmed. It's a specific year. And if it's the sixth year, the year before the remittance, and you're afraid you're going to give somebody money and they don't have time to repay it, and you're going to be out that loan, God says, that's okay. And you're thinking, what? What do you mean it's okay? I'm out the money. And God's like, no, it's fine. I will reward you. You will be rewarded for your generosity and for helping out your fellow, which, by the way, you're supposed to do anyway. Okay. It also talks about what happens in a city not just when one person starts to, get the idol bug, when they want to start being a pagan and, worship some of these idol worshipers some of these idol worshipers do, because a lot of those practices, they satisfy lusts. That's what they do. And Judaism says, no, you need to live a moral life and things need to be in certain places. So when a city or when a group of people start to get involved in that and decide, we're going to, maybe or maybe not, we'll forsake Torah, but we like kind of these practices of what they do. They're eating, their lusts, whatever they do. You got to deal with it. And you deal with them as a community. There are times when they say if the whole city does it, you destroy the city. That's what you do. You remove it from your midst. That's the commandment. So we're all in this together. And this is what it takes to set up a society. It's not an every person for themselves situation. It's all together. Now, Re'eh ends with the 3 pilgrimage festivals. And it doesn't really go into the details of what you're doing, but it does say that you will come to the temple, or at that point in the Torah it says an area which God will designate for you later. We all go as a community, and we all observe as a community. And they say, well, if you're bringing an offering, and maybe, was it the tribe of Dan that was the most north in the ancient land of Israel? It's a long trek, so you're going to bring animals with you. They say no, you can go ahead and sell them, and with your money, you can come down to Jerusalem and you can buy that animal, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, the Talmud goes into whether it's going to be a cheaper or more expensive. Talmud, I'm telling you, the Talmud leaves no stone unturned. There is nothing you can think of or conceive, any situation in life where that the Talmud doesn't deal with it. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm saying even those. So, but again, Judaism is a religion of community. This is why we have minions. I personally, every morning, I put on the tefillin, I put on a talit, and I do my personal prayers. But there are some prayers I do not say because you require a minion, like the sanctifications, the Kaddishes, repeating the tefillah, the Amidah out loud. Again, Judaism is all about community, looking out for each other. And wouldn't the world be a much better place if we all approached it with that attitude? Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for listening, and we will see you at services.